Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be doing a review on my dad's 2020 BMW X5 40i. So I'll tell you a little bit about the spec that we got. So it has the mineral white metallic. It's a 40i engine, so it's a 3-liter inline 6. It has an M Sport package, so it has everything body colored, a little bit of aggressive styling. In terms of the exterior, yeah, the M Sport package. If we go inside, so we got the ivory white interior. So it's upgraded leather with the upgraded stitching on the dash. We got the glass crafted package. So what that gives is, crystal glass here, and also the volume knob. We also got premium package enhanced, so it has a bunch of safety, luxury features, heads up display. Another thing is soft close doors, so if you just go like that, it goes inside and it closes. So yeah, it's like so far we had it for about 3-4 months and it's been pretty nice. My dad added those stripes. Yeah, it's a pretty solid car. Yeah, so let's go start her up. Yeah, so one of the coolest things about the interior is these 2 screens and combined with the iDrive controller. So finally now it's touchscreen and it has gesture control, so it's perfect. So you can increase the sound, decrease it. Another thing you could do is you can configure your your instrument cluster. So if you go to sport mode, notice how the increments of the speed change and the overall appearance changes. If you go to eco, it's completely different. Then adaptive is like the standard. And then now finally you can have different stuff here. So your fuel economy, trip data, your horsepower, the rating, first time here. Another thing is, before only the M cars used to have the speedometer and the heads-up display, but now you can have it here. And then you can also see everything related to your navigation, everything in your heads-up display. So in terms of space, it's pretty nice. One of the unique features that my dad enjoys a lot is the fact that the transmission bump in the middle is very minimal. I think in this category, only the Q7, Q8, Cayenne, and the X5 have this. Another good thing is, gesture control. Oh, I just opened up my foot. And then the split tailgate, which is signature to the X5. And honestly, this is one of the coolest features. So, yeah. Alright, so just like the previous review I did, I'm going to be using the template that I've made. I can share with you guys if you guys want it. So for this car, the previous generation X5 was called the F15. So that 6-cylinder engine had the N55 engine. So they're both inline 6 with a single turbo, twin scroll turbo. They're both pretty good engines, right? And they're both built in Spartanburg, South Carolina, in USA. So the previous one was a F15 with the N55 engine. This new one is a G01 chassis, which has the B58 engine, right? The engine that's in a lot of the newer Supras and 340i's and all those cars. Yeah, so basically the 40i is a 3-liter inline 6 single turbo, I said. So the B58 is a bit more reliable, more fuel efficient, more powerful, and it makes peak torque way earlier at 1350 RPM. And I think the car idles around 1,000, right? So that's pretty good. I know it has a lot of cooling bits from the M2 and other BMW M models. So the N54 originally was made to fix the N54 with the twin turbos. But even some people with the N55s were still running into some fuel pump and turbo issues, so that's why the B58 came out. And I think it's a pretty good engine. So if you compare it to the old F15s, when you start up and at the low end it had a lot more burbles, But the B58 has that upshift pop, and it has like pumped in audio, which I don't like. But in this car, it's pretty good, so I can share a clip with you of that upshift sound. So the other engine variants that you can get is the M50i. So for 2020, it's called M50i, but before for 2019, it was called the 50i. So that one has a 4.4 liter V8 single turbo. Then you get the X5M with the 4.4 liter V8 twin turbo. So for the 40i and 50i trims, there are the regular X-Line trim and the M Sport trim. And then for both of them, you can get Premium, Package Essential, Enhanced, and Excellence. So it's basically like a package of several options together. And then you get the Advanced Driver Assistance package. So it has like the night vision, the traffic jam assist, and all the really cool tech features, and then off-road package. Yeah, Essential package is pretty good, but I think, you know, Enhanced is like kind of like the sweet spot. It has all the BMW features, and you can of course like add the single options like later on. So this is the 2020. So the first generation of the G01 was from 2019. So there were some recalls in 2019 because, you know, it's the first generation of vehicle, right? And I think 2020 so far there hasn't been any issues so far. And yeah, it's been pretty good so far for us too. We haven't had any issues. So for options to look for, I would suggest, you know, like just like we got the M Sport and Premium Package Enhanced. So M Sport, not only does it, you know, all just the look outside, inside, like you get the bolstered seats, you get the M Sport steering wheel, which like is the same steering wheel as the M3s. You get that adaptive chassis, the big M brakes, you know, it's blue colored and looks nice. And also like handling, the adaptive suspension is really good. Like when you put in sport mode, every shift, you know, you literally feel that chassis movement. You know, you feel everything on the road, and it's really nice. And then when you put in comfort mode, like it soaks up every bump. It's really nice. Yeah, so the M Sport and Premium Package Enhanced, like typically with BMWs, like the Premium Package Enhanced like has a lot of features that make it a BMW, right? For example, like heads-up display and like soft close door, and then the rear side sunshades and all that stuff, right? Like those are like the main features that like define a BMW, I would say. So I would recommend starting with that. And then if you look at the resale market, like they have pretty good resale ones. You have Premium Package Enhanced and M Sport. And yeah, like both those like packages really option the car out wellly, like pretty nicely. Plus another thing that like we didn't get, I would recommend, is maybe the BMW display key. The reason why we didn't get it is because instead of the two normal keys, you only get one key with the display key. Another thing would be the black grills, right? My dad prefers like the chrome look. I prefer the black. I think it's like $500 option, and I think like IND sells like a retrofit kit for like $500 as well, so might as well get it from the factory because it has the grill, and then also the exhaust gets blacked out as well. Options to avoid. So yeah, like getting a regular X-Line, like if you compare like the X-Line and the M Sport, like they look totally different. Even the wheel options you get are like way better on the M Sport, like, and that really makes the car like have that like premium like feel, right? So I'd recommend, you know, avoiding getting like a regular X5. Like you still get a lot of the features, the same engines and everything, but it's just not the same feel. Another thing is a lot of people, so for the M Sport you can get air suspension, and you know, like I said before, I think the adaptive suspension is pretty good. The air suspension, it sits pretty low, it sits nice, but like I've heard a lot of issues with air suspension and like typically with BMW, so I would try to avoid that. For competition, so like, you know, this car competes with like the Mercedes GLE, Porsche Cayenne, you know, that class. And I think the X5 is kind of like the best all-rounder. Like you can see a lot of other YouTube reviewers, they say like the X5 like kind of hits the benchmark for like everything all at once, right? So the Cayenne, you're gonna get more performance, I guess, because you know, their suspension and everything like that, their chassis steering is like perfect, right? But this is still like pretty up there versus if you go for a Mercedes, you might get more luxury, like all the different like leathers and stuff like that. For Audi, the Q7, you know, that style, you get like a lot more space and so on. I guess another thing is there's no 4-cylinder option for the X5 in North America. And then, you know, the hybrid, which hasn't come out yet in Canada, it's coming. I feel like it's kind of expensive, right? It's like another like almost 10K. And the other thing is, like, you know, the third row option is pretty bad. Like the Q7 is in this class and it has like similar pricing. The Q7 is still like not the best, but it's still better than what the X5 third row is. So for maintenance, so all BMWs come with 4-year standard maintenance, like your service warranty, and then like your regular warranty, like your bumper to bumper. And then you can option for more if you want to keep it longer, right? Or if your car is up to like CPO standards, then you can get it extended. So the coverage is pretty good, right? So I think that's like a lot of like a huge value point for that attracts people to BMW. Like if you look at Audi or Mercedes, right? Like it's the same price car, but this, like, pretty much if you're driving for 4 years, your only expenses are like fuel and then maybe tires and brakes, oil changes, and like any other like you know, maintenance related activities is all covered under the warranty. So that's like a huge thing. But typically, like, you know, from my experience and like other people, like a lot of my friends, like typically like after that 4-year period, that's when like a lot of stuff becomes like really messy. So then, you know, BMW, it's almost like they're making it like worth it to only own for those 4 years. But after that, there's like this sensor, oxygen sensor change, that sensor change, and then this becomes a nightmare. But honestly, like if you maintain it really good and you have like a good connection with your dealership, like I think it's pretty good to keep. Like they're solid cars, like they have like their best. I think like the X5 like a couple of years ago, or even this generation, like won a lot of like JD Power quality awards. So insurance, yeah, the X5 is pretty good. My dad came from a Q5, Audi Q5 to BMW X5, and the insurance actually went down regardless the fact that like it's more expensive. And I think that's due to the fact that like all the tech that's in the car, and then yeah, like I think BMW, like older BMWs generally have like a higher insurance quote, but newer BMWs are pretty good. So for detailing, in terms of exterior, like everything is pretty easy. The wheels, like with the big brake kit, like it's kind of difficult to get into some areas. So like I use like a smaller brush to get into those details. Another thing is the gloss black trim on the windows and on the back rear windshield. On our X3, I've noticed that it started to fade a bit, and even for this one, like, so I put a coat of wax on it, but you can see how like light swirls of like scratches start to build up. The interior, the dash area, so first I'll talk about like, so if you get the white leather, like it's gonna be a pain in the ass to clean. So I try to clean it like every week or two with like just like a leather interior cleaner. Everything else is pretty easy to clean except for this one part, which I can show you. I went to look at a used X5 just to see, like, you know, what are the stuff that goes wrong. This material looked like really messed up. Like it had like a bunch of dust on it and it wasn't going. You can see on ours too, like some dust is building up, and what's weird is like you can't really like take it. Like even if you put a vacuum, it only gets rid of like the top layer. I think this is like from the speaker, but this is like a really weird rough material, so it's very hard to clean that. So I don't know if like BMW is gonna do something for that, or maybe I was thinking of getting like a mesh or something to add on top of it so that, like, you know, more dust doesn't go in there. And yeah, so if we look at like, you know, from the 40i and 50i, so the 40i has 335 horsepower, and then I think the 50 has like another like additional 100 horsepower. But honestly, like I think the 40i is like the best bang for your buck. Like I don't think, like if you really want the extra power, I would probably advise going for the X5M, because that's like, it's like over 500 horsepower and it's like pretty nice. And if you're gonna be tracking the car, it's good. But like, you know, like you can get an X5 40i and then tune it, and then it would probably make like the same power as the 50i. And then you have like the additional weight savings too, right? So for modifications, yeah, so there really aren't any reasons to modify it for preventative reasons, like unlike the N55, which had like fuel pump and turbo issues. This is fine. But proactive, like most people get like the M Performance muffler, and it sounds pretty nice. It has like nice pops to it. A lot of people go up with, you know, VRSF downpipes or Boot Mod 3 tune. So tune is about like $700 or $800 depending on where you are. And what's good is like it's a flash tune, so it doesn't affect the warranty, and you can just like flash it back to stock, and then you can adjust your burbles like through your phone, which is pretty good. And I think that's a good option, you know, getting like, I think you can average about like 100 horsepower extra, so that generally, like, you know, you get up to the X5 50i range. And yeah, so like another thing, so when we bought the car, BMW finance is like you know, just like I mentioned in the last video, like finance, insurance, maintenance, right? These are like the main three things that like people don't really look into when they're buying a car. So for finance, this car is like pretty good. So BMW has like their lease program if you want, but if you're financing, they have balloon financing, which is really good. And they have pretty good rates, especially if you're coming from a BMW, right? So for us, like we got almost I think like 1% off the whatever interest rate it was, and then you have your consumer like loyalty cash and stuff like that. Yeah, and I think like once you're in a BMW, it's like kind of hard to get out of it, right? Because you're kind of like sucked into those deals. And then like, you know, just like feedback from my dad, like he said like this car, like he's had like many SUVs in the past, and this is like, it hits the ballpark for like everything. Like the main things that he looks for in SUV is like the small stuff, right? So like he likes the Swarovski glass shifter, he wants like heads-up display, he wants like ambient lighting, soft closed doors, and he likes that high raised up position. And for him to get all those things plus all the luxury and tech, like I think the X5 is pretty good. And another thing about this car is like there's a lot of features that you don't like, that are not like necessarily in like the brochure. Like every week we would like we would find out different features. Like last week we found out like different features for the lights, and then like even playing with the iDrive, right? They have this thing, it's called like Live Cockpit Professional something, I don't know what it's called, but basically it's like a built-in dash cam for your car. So it only activates when it senses that something has gone wrong. So basically if you get into a crash or someone like hits your car or whatever, then it'll turn on to save space, like to save your memory space for yourself or like for cloud, and then it records that. Another good feature, like I think now it's kind of become the standard in this class, like when you turn your heated seats, it turns on like your heated armrest on the center console and on the door, which is pretty cool. The interior, like pretty much like you can't ask for anything else. Like all the materials, the switches, like this gloss black is like kind of hard to clean, but I mean that's the only gloss black. If you compare to like Audi Q7 or Q8, like this is a nightmare. And then, you know, they moved all the screen here instead of having that big ugly screen. So yeah, it looks really nice, drives really good, and it's pretty fast. Like I think the 0 to 60 is like under 6 seconds, so that's pretty fast for like how like heavy this car is. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think, and if you own an X5 or looking for an X5, let me know in the comments below.